Hey, good morning. Welcome to the Ramsey Paul Show. It is Monday. Happy Monday, March 3rd. Yay, we're in March. Spring is coming. The trees will start to bud here in about 2 weeks, but that means I'll have to mow. Although we may get snow on Wednesday. Snow on Wednesday. This is crazy. But spring is finally coming. I'm looking forward to it. Hey, guys, I hope you had a great weekend. I had a really busy weekend, but it was good. I've been keeping busy, but busy is good. The only trouble with keeping busy is your life goes quick and pretty soon you're going to be dead, but I'm keeping busy. I enjoy it. And this week's going to be a crazy busy week. I do my show Monday through Friday, and thank you. If you guys are new to the Ramsey Paul Show, I do this every day, Monday through Friday at 11 a.m., except on Fridays, I do it at 8 p.m. That's kind of our night show, and it's an open forum. I post a link, people to call in, kind of like the old Rush Limbaugh show, and that's a lot of fun. Last night, Sasha and I, we did Night Owls. We usually do that on Sunday night, and the Academy Awards or the Oscars were on last night, and that was kind of fun. This week, I'm excited. On Wednesday, for the last couple of weeks, I've been doing a show with Z-Man. We call it the Wednesday Wrap-Up. And last week, we did it about Nixon. This week, unless something major breaks that we have to change the topic, we're going to talk about communism. How's it changed? Does it still exist? When I was young, that was the big thing. Now you don't hear of it much. But does it still exist, just under a new name? So that's going to be a really fascinating show. Being a lot of good feedback about that show, so be sure on Wednesday night to check that out at 7 p.m. Wednesday night Central Time. And usually I have the roundtable every Tuesday, and I want to thank everyone for being part of that. I have my Substack. I want to encourage everyone to, I'll put it here in the link always, just so you guys can sign up to my Substack. My Substack is replaced Gumroad. I'm officially off Gumroad. I think I still have Gumroad up, but I don't update it anymore. I went to Substack mostly because of technical reasons. Gumroad has some technical issues getting out emails. And Substack is just a bigger platform. It's more robust. It works well. And they have a really good free speech policy. So if the usual people complain and try to get you banned, it's not going to happen. So I'm really excited. Plus on Substack, you can post articles, you can post videos. And I just posted a video today on Substack. And if you guys check it out, it's free. It's free. So might as well follow me on Substack. Monday through Thursday, I do free articles or videos for people. And then on Friday, I do a video typically for my Substack subscribers. Thank you very much. And if you subscribe to me on Substack, every Tuesday night, we have a roundtable. Those roundtables are getting better every week. We have a real sense of community. It is really cool. However, this Tuesday, we're not having the roundtable because tomorrow night, President Trump is addressing Congress, and we're not going to want to miss that. We're not going to want to miss that. So I'm going to be live streaming his address to Congress. A little different, though. I'm not going to be live streaming on YouTube because YouTube, the censors there, the last time I live streamed a Trump event, they took my video down. I didn't get a strike, but I got a warning. I don't understand this because this is a political event. Who knows? So hell with that. I am streaming on Rumble and on X on Tuesday night for the live stream. And then after Trump talks, we'll discuss what he has to say. He's kind of teasing everyone. He's preparing a big announcement. It could be cutting off funding to Ukraine, something huge, or is it economic, eliminating taxes on Social Security, or eliminating the income tax in general? That'd be cool. Or it could be he's coming out with a new meme coin or something. We'll see. It'll be entertaining though. Trump is always entertaining, so it's going to be a must-see stream. I'll be streaming it, and then we'll discuss it afterwards. But again, tomorrow night, we're going to do that in place of the roundtable because I usually have my roundtables Tuesday nights. But when there's a happening, I got to cover the happening. So we're going to do that, and it'll be on Rumble and on X. I'm not going to stream it on YouTube because I don't know. I have no idea what YouTube rules are anymore, so I just won't bother with it. So that's what we'll be doing. So I'll see you guys there tomorrow night. So busy week, a lot of stuff to go over. And I want to thank you all for being here. If you have questions or comments, I'd like to have you. I do not get USAID. I don't get that funding. I don't have the Russians funding me. I don't have the taxpayers funding me. I count on you guys. And if you like the content, just, throw out $5, like a price of a cup of coffee. Submit a question. You can do that on Rumble. We have rants on YouTube, Super Chats, and there's Power Chats below too. And I think my Stream Elements is now working. Last night's Stream Elements was kind of buggy, but it seems to be a little bit more stable now. Last night's Stream Elements, for some reason, every time I'd be logged in and it would log me out like after 5 minutes. I'd log back in, 5 minutes later, just log me out. But it looks a little more stable now. They have a tip feature. So in case you don't want to use Power Chat, there's a tip feature. All right. Let's see what else. So yeah, tomorrow night, Trump is going to address Congress 9 p.m. Eastern time. So that's 8 p.m. Central time. I probably will start my stream like 15 minutes before he starts to do his address to Congress. It's going to be great. So watch out. I'll post the link tomorrow. I'm still going to have my Ramsey Paul show tomorrow though. So in between then. But then we'll have that. So it should be a lot of fun. And I think a lot of the focus is on Ukraine. And it's amazing how all of that has changed so quickly. And I think it had to. Just because this war, we've spent, who knows how much money we spent on this war. That's part of the problem. There's been very poor accounting in Washington. And according to Zelensky, half the money we gave him, he doesn't know where it went. That's some red flags there. And we're not talking like $10 or $1,000 or even $1 million. We're talking billions have gone missing. And Zelensky, he's a dictator. He canceled elections. He's arrested his opposition. He arrested Gonzalo Lira. They tortured him to death. He was an American citizen. I had Coach Red Pill, he went by Gonzalo on my show. It's really sad what happened to him. But to be fair, Zelensky has killed other journalists and other opposition leaders. They've arrested priests. It's not a free country. So why we're supporting them is a big question there. And I guess the meme they've been trying to push is every year is 1938. And unless we fight against Putin, he's going to take all of Europe. Which at this point, I don't really care. I really don't. What is Europe anymore? They censor their citizens. If you silently pray in your house in Britain, you risk going to jail. They keep flooding their countries trying to replace the people with migrants. Many of these migrants conduct terror attacks, and you're not allowed to complain about it. Otherwise, you go to jail. Is this a dystopian nightmare they have there? They bought into every woke thing, the whole transgender bullshit, the LGBTQ stuff is their high value because they've lost God. They're no longer Christian. Europe used to be Christian. Now it's this satanic thing where they worship homosexuality and let's bring in people to eliminate whiteness. Let's censor people. Let's ban books. This is what Europe's all about now. So I'm not really quite sure why we would want to defend that system. That's not my values. And I'm not saying Russia is a free place, but so to me, it seems like Russia's actually freer than most of Europe at this point. And Europe, they're deindustrializing. They bought into the climate change hoax, which is mostly bullshit. The climate does change, but I won't go into all of that again, but the idea that, the Earth's mad at us, so we can't have our factories open anymore. So big major countries like Germany, they've been deindustrializing for the past decade or more. Same with Britain and France. So, and in their leaders of Europe, they put these girl bosses intentionally. They put women in there that are silly women, and they're not strong leaders. But at the time, they thought they were virtue signaling. Now they're having a time of crisis. They don't have strong men running the show. They have eliminated their manufacturing capability because of green policies, and they're weak. And they count on the United States, who they always, they always take shots at us, how we're not sophisticated like Europe, and oh, we still have factories and, all that type of thing. And now, but they, at the same time, while they're always disrespecting us, they always expect for us to bail their asses out. They want us to fight their wars. And with Trump, it's like, no, we're not going to do that anymore. Now with Biden, they could get away with it because Biden was senile, didn't know what was happening. And Biden was controlled by a bunch of evil neocons like Anthony Blinken and Victoria Nuland. These are evil people that do not like America. They have an ethnic interest against Russia that goes way back, their ancestors. And so that's what's been pushing the whole thing. And Trump saying, hey, this is enough. We're not going to do this anymore. And we've seen this come to a head. Trump wants peace for a couple of reasons. Number one, I think the main reason is because us spending all this money in Ukraine, it'd be better if we spent the money in the United States or give the money back to you, the taxpayers, us, right? We could use the money. I could. Everyone could. Why piss it away on the Donbass in Ukraine? That's Trump's number one thing. I mean, we got to cut spending, and this is the key thing. But the second thing Trump brings up, and I think he's legitimate, I don't think he's lying about it, it's just pretty grim what's happening over there. This war has been going on for 3 years. Who knows how many people have died? There's a lot of propaganda around that. But if you consider both sides, you're probably over 1 million people have been slaughtered, all for a war that was provoked by the U.S. neocons like Victoria Nuland. Victoria Nuland, under the Obama administration, she worked with Soros to overthrow the leader of Ukraine, which then at the time was pro-Russian. Then it became part of the neocon project to try to attack Russia. And, let's replace Christianity. Let's eventually get rid of the white people in Ukraine, bring a bunch of Africans in. Let's push homosexuality in the schools. Let's use Ukraine as a base to attack Russia. That's what it was all about. And then Putin invaded 3 years ago in the Donbass because those regions wanted to separate from Ukraine because, again, the people there are mostly ethnic Russians, and they were being persecuted by the Ukrainian dictatorship, meaning they couldn't, the Russian language was attacked, their religion, the Russian Orthodoxy, their priests were attacked. And there was a civil war long before Putin invaded that had been raging, and a lot of the ethnic Russian people had been killed. And then we egged on the war. And then when Putin invaded, if you remember, they had a tentative peace agreement within 3 months. They had a meeting in Istanbul, and Ukraine signed off on it. Everyone was good to go. But the Biden regime, they didn't want peace, and so they sent Boris Johnson to Zelensky saying, no, let's scuttle this peace deal. We're going to put sanctions on Russia. Russia's weak. It will collapse. We'll be able to break up Russia. And soon we will have gay pride parades in Moscow. That's our goal. And then we'll tell little boys in Moscow they're actually born in the wrong body and they need gender-affirming surgery. This was like the whole goal. But it didn't happen. Russia, when sanctions were placed on it, they didn't collapse. Russia was resilient because they have a lot of internal stuff. They have their own natural minerals and gas and oil. And the entire world was not against Russia. This is the talking point the Europeans and the neocons made 3 years ago. The entire world stands against Putin. It's like, no, not really. China doesn't. India doesn't. Brazil doesn't. Mexico doesn't. I could go down the list. So all these other countries continue to trade with Russia. And Russia actually, they were kicked off the American banking like SWIFT. So they decided to make their own economic bloc. called BRICS: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. But that's grown. It is bigger than that now. And this really has the Americans worried now, because part of the reason we've been able to spend more than we take in, we've been running a deficit, I think, almost my whole life. Even I remember when I got into politics, or watching politics a lot with like Reagan, this was a big deal, the deficit, trying to get a balanced budget. It never happened. But the only reason everything didn't really break and we didn't have hyperinflation is because the United States had the world's reserve currency backed by oil. If you wanted to buy oil, you needed American dollars. And now with BRICS, that's starting to change, and that could really threaten the United States, and Donald Trump's worried about that. And supposedly the biggest concern Trump has right now with Putin is not really Ukraine, it's the dollar, because that's fundamental. Ukraine is not really an important issue. And so Trump has been open ties with Russia. They're going to establish ambassadors again. We're going to talk with Russia again. And I believe Trump doesn't see any reason that Russia should be our enemy. And it's like, why should they be our enemy? I don't really quite understand it. In some ways, they have more value. We share more values with Russia than we do with Britain, right? At least Russia is nominally Christian. Britain isn't. They're just all this LGBTQ satanic shit. So there's some, it's like, why should Russia be our enemy? I don't understand this. And so that's Trump's position. He called Putin and they had a good conversation. And despite the narrative that Europe's put out is like, oh, how dare you negotiate a peace deal without Ukraine there? But they haven't been negotiating a peace deal concerning Ukraine. Trump said they haven't. Russia says they haven't. It's like, okay, if they're secretly negotiating a peace deal, who the hell's doing it? Trump and Putin aren't. Rubio and Lavrov, the guy on the Russian side, is not. So where's this happening exactly? It's not happening. They just been discussing how we should relate with each other. And I think Putin is smart. He understands this. He's talked about, hey, you want the mineral deal from Ukraine. We have more minerals than Ukraine does. Why don't we work together? And because they understand Trump's all about business and what is good for America and how to get jobs in America and improve our revenue and that type of thing. So Putin understands that, whereas Zelensky's all about welfare. He wants handouts from America. So that was the situation. And then this is getting Europe really scared now. So they have this harebrained scheme is that, well, their goal has always been to try to get the United States in a direct war with Russia, because Ukraine cannot win a war against Russia. They're not strong enough. They don't have they're losing almost all their men now. They've been wiped out. And Europe is extremely weak. They're a bunch of girl bosses. They've deindustrialized. There's nothing really there. Britain can talk tough, but it's not a Britain of 100 years ago or 200 years ago. They're kind of almost an irrelevant country at this point. I don't, and I say this, my ancestry is British. I'm very proud of my heritage, but it's really sad what's happened to Britain, France, and Germany. They're kind of demoralized people. They're not the top standard countries anymore, like China, Russia, and America. Even they're just a grade below. Kind of dreary places that they worry about weird homosexuality things and climate change bullshit and feminism and let's import migrants to replace our people. It's just really a sad place. And they're in no position to fight Russia because of their policies they've had. And if they think they can't change that, even if they have the political will to change it, which is doubtful, it would probably be decades before they could even challenge Russia. They would have to totally change their process, deport most of the migrants that have come in the past 10, 15 years to stabilize their countries. They would have to scrap the climate change hoax, rebuild their industry, take the matter seriously, put very competent men, mostly, and some women that are competent in charge, not just all these girl bosses that are there for diversity reasons. But I don't really see that happening. And so this is where Europe, they understand that while they can talk tough, they need American backing. So the whole point of what they're trying to do is to sucker the United States into a war with Russia. And Starmer and Macron, they came last week to America because they thought they could trick Donald Trump and J.D. Vance into what they call a security guarantee. See, these guys are they're kind of slimy. I mean, most people can see through what they're doing, but I guess they assume that Donald Trump's just a rube, and J.D. Vance, he's just a hillbilly. What does he understand about this? So we'll go in there, we'll act sophisticated, and we'll trick the Americans. And the trick was, oh, no, Americans, we don't want you to fight. We'll just get a peace deal, and then we'll put our forces, French and British forces, in Ukraine to make sure Russia honors the peace deal. But we need a security guarantee from you guys, and that's all we're asking. But see, the security guarantee is if the Russians should attack the British or the French, we would have to save their asses, meaning we would be obligated to go to war with Russia. And Russia's a nuclear power, and I don't want our boys to die for that bullshit. And Trump doesn't want to waste the money on that. And so we understand that. And this is all a ridiculous idea anyway, because Russia's not going to agree to any peace where European troops are in Ukraine, because that's basically what started this whole mess. Is Russia was worried that Ukraine is part of NATO, and so even if Ukraine is not technically part of NATO, if you have British and French troops there and their security guarantees is basically as part of NATO, which was one of the main reasons for the war. So Russia will never agree to that. So even, I guess the British think they can have just on their end, declare peace, not to get agreement from Russia, and then they can send in their troops, and their hope that, if our troops get attacked, then America will have to help us. And Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, they saw through that bullshit, and they said no. And Zelensky, that was the whole mineral rights deal. The whole idea was Zelensky wanted to bribe, and that's what it was, to bribe the Americans, like, hey, I'll give you some of our mineral wealth if we get what he calls a security guarantee, which means we go fight for them. And Donald Trump's always been very clear, and Pete Hegseth and J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio said, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to send American troops into Ukraine. That's just out of the question. We want the war to end. We don't want it to escalate. You guys are going the wrong direction. But Trump said, we'll have a mineral deal, but that's just for you to pay us back all the money we gave you. And then Zelensky's like, oh, I'm not going to pay back. He's like a deadbeat. He just he's a welfare queen. But then, Zelensky said, oh, okay, I'll sign this mineral deal with you. But then he got to Washington, and then in the Oval Office, he was starting to change the terms and started to argue the deal again. And the whole Oval Office meeting started out friendly enough, and then Zelensky just started to try to renegotiate the deal. That pissed off J.D. Vance, and J.D. Vance said, this is not the place to do this. This is disrespectful. When you have these events, it's just to the public to, do a friendly statement to the media. That's not the time to start airing your grievances. But Zelensky, he's a slimeball. He's a very dishonest man. I don't think you can negotiate with him. He's a big liar. So he could tell you something now, today, this morning, and this afternoon he'll just totally change his position. And then the evening he may go back to his original position. He's all over the map. And just like the other day, so Zelensky, before he came to Washington, yeah, I agree. We'll do the mineral deal. Then he gets to Washington. No, I don't want to do the mineral deal unless you give us security guarantees, which means you get in the war. And we said, screw you. We're not going to do that. And there was a big blow up. And then just hours later, he goes, oh, let me come back. I'll do the deal anyway. And I guess that's the position. I don't know. That's the position he was on yesterday. It's probably changed a few times since then. So Zelensky is not someone that we can deal with as a man. He's a very poor leader. He likes the showmanship. He's an actor. He's a little guy, a little midget, but he likes to act like he's Che Guevara. where his outfit, says like, oh, I'm tough. I'm not going to shave. I'm going to wear my t-shirt, all that bullshit. And he's a dishonest man. He acts like a dictator. And I think a lot of leaders are getting tired with his act. And there's no way we could the Russians, there's no way they can do a deal with Zelensky. He's dishonest. He would renege on any deal. And I think the United States has realized that too. And it'd be interesting to see what the big announcement Trump is making tomorrow will be in addressing Congress. The rumor has it that Trump has had finally enough of the whole thing with Zelensky in Ukraine, and we're washing our hands of the matter. And I've always advocated that, and I predicted this is how it would probably go. I didn't think there would be a peace treaty or anything like that. I think, because technically we're not at war with Russia, Ukraine's at war with Russia, and I think Trump's position is this is not in our interest, and more so, it's kind of immoral for us to fund this war, the slaughtering over 1 million people. As Trump said just last week, another 2,000 soldiers died. I mean, it's really horrific. And he's like, we don't want to be a part of this. And we're going to pull away from this. We're going to have our relations with Russia. We'll get along with them as friends and trading partners. Same with China. Doesn't mean we're going to be screwed. We're going to, if they have tariffs, we'll put on tariffs. But we're not going to be enemies with them. I don't see why we should. I think that's Trump's position. And I think it's like, well, Ukraine and Europe, you guys can do whatever the hell you want, but it's not going to end well for you. But whatever you want to do, we want peace. We'll help to negotiate the peace. But if you guys are insistent on continuing to fight there, well, that's up to you. And Brits or the French, you think you guys are all tough. Well, go for it. Have fun. But we're not going to back you. That's not part of NATO or Article 5. And as I've always said, it's like during the Vietnam War, Britain, they didn't go to war in North Vietnam because our troops in Vietnam were attacked by the Vietnamese. That's not Article 5. Article 5 is we agree if like Britain should be attacked by Russia or China, we will go to the defense of Britain or France, any NATO country. That's Article 5. But if you go on your own and get involved in some other war, it's not our position to have to save your ass. So that is what's happening there. And it's just a strange thing. And I did my video about this today. You guys can check that out. And so I'm not going to redo all that, but let me just see here. Yeah, and here's some of the supporting data of this. Let me just show you guys this. Sorry, I had another tab up that says blacks are going to go back to Africa. I'm like, oh, no, not that. All right, net zero is making the UK poorer. Okay, so this isn't in regards to the Ukrainian war. This is what's happening in Germany and Britain. They have this whole nonsense thing about climate change, which is mostly bullshit. I mean, the climate does change. Climate has always changed. They used to call this global warming, but people started to notice sometimes there's like record cold temperatures. We've been very cold this year in Arkansas. Some years are cold, some years are warmer. This year we had a lot of cold weeks. So they said, oh, well, we can do this just if it's colder or hotter, because every year it's either hotter or colder than normal. That's how you get averages. It's rare. It's exactly the average. So this is their thing. And the whole reason for this whole global warming scam, kind of like COVID, there was a kernel of truth in there. Like COVID, there was a virus, but they decided to use that to try to generate fear so they could justify gaining more control over your lives. And this is what they're doing with so-called climate change, is to generate fear. Oh, there's nothing we can do. The world's getting hotter, so we got to flood our country. We got to flood Ireland with Africans. What else can we do? This is the bullshit they do. And then they're trying to do net zero, which means it's basically impossible to have manufacturing. So here it is. The UK's attempts to decarbonize, and that's like fossil fuels, has resulted in weak growth, Deindustrialization has no significant impact on global emissions. This is what's crazy about the whole thing. So even if you believe that having factories makes the earth warmer, even if you believe that, Britain and Germany are so small potatoes compared to the big ones like China, which does their own thing. They don't give a shit about that, or even India. China and India are the biggest polluters on the planet. So Britain doing this is not going to make any difference, nor Canada. But Britain and Canada, they got into this cult because they're no longer Christian. So this is a religion. Oh, we got to make Mother Earth happy. So they put in all these regulations, which makes it impossible to have industry. And so they're losing their industry and the people are getting poorer. And this is coming from an official study by the economists that, are not like extremely right wing or anything. So this is all happening at the time that these girl bosses of Europe are acting belligerent towards Russia. Like, we're going to kick some ass. Like, yeah, bitch, how are you going to do that? You got rid of all your factories. You can't make weapons anymore. What the hell are you going to do? And their whole strategy is to try to trick the United States to go to war for them. And but that's not working because they don't have, Joe Biden, this is no longer in. Trump, he's older, but he's not senile yet. He's pretty still alert. And J.D. Vance is extremely smart. They probably underestimated him, thought he was just some hillbilly from Appalachia, which he is, but he's an extremely bright man. And so their whole idea of trying to trick us into the war is not working. And some of the pushback on this, I think, is pretty good too. Elon Musk is pushing back on this, and this is doing some memes. The EU leaders and Zelensky have fancy dinners while men die in trenches. How many parents will never see their son again? How many children will never see their father? Kind of ironic, Elon posting this, because I think he's just had another kid, 14. I don't know how many he sees, but that's another issue. But yeah, it's really kind of fascinating how the moral calculus has been inverted. When I was young, it was always the left that said the right were warmongers and, they're going to fancy dinners and eating well while the boys are dying in the jungles of Vietnam or whatever, right? But now they've inverted that. Now the left is pro-war and the people, I guess, on the right are against it. It is kind of interesting to see how that is happening. So there is a moral component to this. I think there's two reasons the United States, I hope Trump announces tomorrow that we're ending all funding of the Ukrainian war, that we will happily be a mediator if Ukraine, but any peace agreement needs to become between Ukraine and Putin or Russia. And whoever, if Zelensky's still in or whoever, they'll have to do that. We're happy to be a mediator. We want to see peace because of humanitarian reasons. We don't like to see people killed. But our first interest has to be the United States, and it's not in the interest of the United States citizens to start World War III, to see our boys die over there. We don't have the money to fund a proxy war anymore. It's not in our interest. Instead of pissing away money on weapons and bribes to Ukrainian officials. We're paying some of their pensions and everything else, or government officials. It's just crazy. We don't have the money to that. We need that money for our people, and they just got to figure that on their own. And that doesn't change anything because they go, oh, well, then if Putin wins, he's going to invade Germany and France and Britain. Well, number one, that's just ridiculous. It's just stupid. But even if that should happen, which it won't, but even if it should happen, then that's a different scenario because Germany and Britain are part of NATO. And if Putin should invade London, which I wouldn't be opposed to, but technically that would be in Article 5. It would trigger Article 5, and we would be obligated to defend Britain militarily. And I think Trump would. So Eastern Ukraine is not in the interest of the United States over their territorial dispute, which goes back generations, really. I mean, it's a complicated matter. I'm fine, our diplomats trying to resolve it, but it's not our interest. And this is not a new position for America. This was the position that George Washington had when he had his farewell address. Our founding father of the country, George Washington. And he wasn't the most eloquent man, but he was very intelligent and sober-minded. And he warned us even back then, we don't want to get into entangling alliances with Europe. Because even back then, Europe was always fighting about some bullshit. And we don't need to get involved with that. So we want peace. You know, we hope for peace. We'll be able to be the mediator, but we're not going to get involved with their wars. So this is in the interest of America. And no, despite what Zelensky said or threatened, if Russia wins, they're not going to be invading America. They're not going to invade Paris, or they're not going to have troops in London. Sadly, probably improve London, but that's not going to happen. And even if it did happen, it would trigger Article 5. So it's, I think the whole thing is pretty dumb. And Tulsi Gabbard talked about some of this, and let me just take a look here. I think she's been pretty good.
Saying that the political establishment and propaganda media don't want you to know. Ukraine's President Zelensky has just banned yet another political opposition party, one that questioned his legitimacy as president, and used Ukraine's Department of Justice to mandate the seizure of this party's members' assets.
Yeah, Ukraine's not a democracy, but Europe's not really a democracy. Europe doesn't believe in free speech. They'll say, yeah, we do, but they define free speech, whatever speech they agree with. Anything they don't agree with is hate speech or disinformation. And we can't allow that. Well, who decides what's hate? Well, we do. So what the hell? So they don't have free speech in Europe. They don't even have freedom of religion. You get arrested for praying in Britain. And they obviously don't respect democracy. In Romania, they were trying to elect a leader who was against this war. And they're like, yeah, we'll just cancel elections. And in fact, I think they arrested that leader now. And they wanted to ban the party in Germany, the AfD. So Europe is in no sense a democracy. When they say democracy, they pour a different meaning into that word. We mean, well, you vote, self-determination of the people, but as part of the self-determination where you actually have a vote, but you also can debate ideas. That's part of a free democracy, even the ideas you don't like, right? So you hear different views. You may think the other person's views hateful or whatever, but you hear it. You can't do violence against them, but then you get together and vote. And I'm not the biggest fan of democracy. That's another issue, though. But that's what we mean by democracy. But the European elites and even a lot of the people in the United States, that's not what they mean by democracy. Democracy means you have to agree with whatever they agree with. And if you disagree with what they believe, they consider that hate and they arrest you. So it's just a joke.
Now, this is just the latest of Zelensky's actions to do this sort of thing. He began banning major political opposition parties in 2022. When he also started banning TV channels that were associated with his political opponents. And he took over total control of Ukraine's largest television networks, now controlled by their government. Now, Zelensky's presidential term ended on May 20th. He canceled elections in the name of martial law, suspending Ukraine's constitution so that he could stay in power. Now, defenders of Zelensky will say, hey, Ukraine is in the middle of a war. They can't have elections. Just stop for a moment and think, if we accept that excuse or criteria for suspending the Constitution and canceling elections, then we should presume that leaders in our own country and our own establishment media will also use this same excuse and rationale when they suspend our Constitution.
Yeah, and this is a trick dictators always do. They said, well, we can't have elections during an emergency time. And so they declare a perpetual emergency that never ends. Convenient, isn't it? That's what they do.
And our elections, since we too are at war with Russia and China. If you think this sounds crazy, look at what's already going on. They've already started conditioning us to accept a dictatorship by rationalizing their own use of our Department of Justice to target President Trump and other political enemies in their efforts to stay in power.
So that was Tulsi a while back, and she's 100% on point there. So that was definitely a good thing. Um, a couple other things. Some European countries have been pretty strong, though. I don't want to say they're all. My country I used to live in for a little bit, God bless them, Hungary. Hungarians, my adopted country. My real country is America. I'm always an American, but Hungary's like my, and then the British, England, that's my heritage. But then Hungary, I really like the Hungarian people and government. And Hungary just blocked the EU security guarantees for Ukraine and new military aid. And this guy's having a meltdown. If Hungary loves Putin so much, they can leave EU and NATO. No one will miss them. All right. And I think Hungary would be happy to go, and maybe the United States can go. So they can have their own little gay club composed of Estonia, France, and Britain. Call it whatever they want. They can have gay orgies, but they're not going to accomplish anything else. So good for Hungary to try to veto this, because Hungary's had enough of this war too, and they don't see the point of trying to escalate. Because if there is a World War III, Hungary would be in the middle of it, and they don't want to do that. Say what you want about Putin, but Putin is very smart with how to deal with Trump. He understands, he's not going to show up in cargo pants, Putin. He'll be in a suit. And he was talking here about, and this is in Russian, so we won't listen to the whole video, but he's talking about a rare earth mineral deals Russia can give because they have more minerals. And by the way, the rare earth mineral deal was kind of bogus anyway, because most of the supposed rare earth minerals are in eastern Ukraine, which are controlled by Russia. So, but Russia says, hey, we got a lot of rare earth minerals. We're not going to give them to you, but hey, if you want to help develop them, and we can work together, have a partnership. And this is something that this is how you appeal to Trump, because Trump's like, yeah, that something makes sense. So I think Putin was smart enough to see that whole rare earth thing that Zelensky first proposed it. There's a lot of amnesia in Europe. They're like, oh, the neo-imperialist America, poor Ukraine. They're trying to steal all their natural resources. Now, the first idea was floated last summer by Zelensky himself as a way to try to get security guarantees from Trump, and he's the one that first floated the idea. So it's just ridiculous. And we got this today. I'm hoping we cut off all military aid to Ukraine. Let's see here, but we actually have some. The New York Times, Trump's meeting with aides today to discuss canceling military aid to Ukraine. And it'd be interesting who's for continuing military aid behind closed doors in the Trump administration and who's against it. I think most people are against it. I know J.D. Vance definitely is against it. J.D. Vance is like one of our guys. Pete Hegseth is against it. Rubio's not a big fan of this anymore. So, and Tulsi Gabbard doesn't want to keep giving money to this little dictator. So I'm not really sure who would support this. So I imagine there's a good possibility that Trump will cut off funding. He may announce that tomorrow in the State of the Union address, or the address to Congress. Is it the State of the Union? I guess it is. And who knows? Maybe he'll even go forward and pull out of NATO, which I would also support because we fund most of NATO and we don't really get anything value out of NATO. So I think it'd be good to end that. So yeah, that would be a good thing here. Oh, I got a tip on Stream Elements. Thank you. What's your updated World War III probability prediction? I think World War III is extremely unlikely now. Because I would put it at less than 1% at this point, anytime soon. If Trump leaves office, everything could change. But there's almost no chance now because Trump is making it clear that if Britain or France, they want to start fighting Russia, well, they can do that on their own. We're not going to get involved with it, and we're not going to be dragged into it. And a lot of the neocons assume that Russia, there's a secret goal here that he wants to pivot away from Russia because he wants to fight a war with China. But I don't see that. I don't think Trump wants to fight with Russia or China. I really don't. I think he wants to have good relations with both countries. I think he wants to make a lot of money for the United States. I really think that's how he's looking at this. And he doesn't, so he wants us to trade with both countries. Again, we're not going to be screwed. There's going to be tariffs on because we're going to protect American industry. But, if they're able, it just makes sense. If China has tariffs on us, why shouldn't we put tariffs on them? So I think that's his view. So I don't really think there's much of a chance for World War III with Trump in there because he doesn't want World War III. I don't think Russia wants that. China doesn't want it. China, historically, they're all about trade and making money. They don't really, they're not trying to take over the world. Russia, they want to secure their borders, but they're not trying to, they have no desire to take over Europe or anything like that. And so I think actually peace is, the world is a lot safer place right now. If Ukraine, Zelensky, and Europe is insistent on continuing the war in Ukraine, I guess that's up to them, but that's going to be very sad. So I don't see that much happening. All right, some more stuff. What Trump did say, and he put us on Truth Social, and I don't have it here, but this is what Europe should be worried about. Instead of worried about Putin, and Trump said this, instead of worrying about Putin, they need to worry about this. There's another Islamic attack that happened in Germany. A crowd plowed into a crowd of people at high speed. Again, Germany and other places in Europe, they keep importing these Muslims who, leave their shitholes, and then they thank the Europeans by murdering them. And as Trump said, this is what they should be really looking at. So if Germany cared about their citizens, they wouldn't try to get in a fight with Russia. They would make peace with Russia. They would start deporting people that non-Germans out of Germany. They would start defending their border. They would scrap the new Green Deal scam, and they would start to build back up their factories and employment. Britain would do the same. But the people in charge of Britain and in Germany, they don't give a shit about their citizens. In fact, they hate their citizens. And so that's where we are now. Here it is. I actually do have it. This is what Trump wrote about this. And Trump's right. And U.S. President slams Europe a new statement. We should spend less time worrying about Putin and more time worrying about migrant rape gangs, drug lords, murderers, and people from mental institutions entering our countries so we don't end up like Europe. And so this Trump is talking about us, that we need to worry, what really, and this is really true, like Putin has never censored one of my videos. Russians have never done that. So they've never violated my civil rights. They've never put me on a list of an enemy because of my political points of views. They've never flooded my country and my neighborhoods with violent people that aren't compatible. They haven't done that. They haven't pushed the idea that our children are actually born in the wrong body, so they need to be sexually mutilated. They've never pushed that. They never pushed the idea that the people of my race are inherently evil and we need to eliminate whiteness. They've never said that, right? So when I just look at this rationally, I don't see what anything Putin or even China has ever done to me at all. Right? It doesn't mean I love them. Do I want to live in China or Russia? No, I'm not Russian. I don't speak Russian. China is more alien even than Russia. I admire what they've done there, but that's not my country. This is my country. So I'm an American, but again, Putin and Xi's never harmed me, unlike other people. So I think our focus is really wrong here. I mean, what impacts me on a daily basis are our country is being taken over by third worlders. That impacts me. The crime and everything else. So Trump's 100% right. And I think this is another clue that Trump is getting tired. He doesn't really care about Putin that way as some big threat. It's just nonsense. And let's listen to the comedian types who were mocking Trump 7 years ago about this. Let's just listen to this here.
And Trump did it again in September when he went to the UN and said something about Germany that was so detached from reality, even the German delegation couldn't help but laugh at him.
Germany will become totally dependent on Russian energy if it does not immediately change course.
So Trump was saying, this was 7 years ago or 11 years ago. Trump was saying, you got to get off. If you do this stupid green energy bullshit, you're going to have to import your energy. And the only way you're going to get that is from Russia. You're going to be dependent on them.
Here in the Western Hemisphere, we are committed to maintaining our independence from the encroachment of expansionist foreign powers.
Not only are these dudes laughing, but look at this lady's face. She doesn't know what the hell he's talking about, and she's from a country where this is a real word.
So this was, the late night carnies making fun of Trump. That's 7 years ago. And Trump has been proven 100% right. 100% right. Meanwhile, all the late night clowns were laughing at Trump, but, turns out he was right. And it doesn't really it makes a lot of sense. You should have a country that is independent and you rely on your own capabilities. So, yeah, good for Trump there. He was right on the mark there. All right. Let's just see here. There's a big week. This is going to be, again, a huge week coming up here. We're going to be sure we're going to have a lot of content going over all this stuff. President Trump, Elon Musk, Little X, I can't believe Elon Musk called his kid that, just arrived at the White House on Marine One. Big week ahead. The Department of Defense releases their initial DOGE finding on Monday. I'm sure there's tons of money wasted in the Department of Defense. And President Trump addresses a joint session of Congress on Tuesday. And that it should be big. So tomorrow night, we'll see what the big announcement is. Trump's always a showman. He likes ratings. And I hope this is something big, but we're all speculating. I was kind of joking. Maybe this is a new meme coin he's introducing or something. Tomorrow night will be big. I will tell it like it is. Yeah, this is going to be good. So this is going to be Donald Trump raw, unfiltered. So it's going to be, I think, a great address. He's not going to pussyfoot around. And there's some theories what he's going to talk about. It'd be interesting what he has in mind here. I know he's going to announce he wants to end the tax on Social Security, which I 100% support. He's going to talk about bringing jobs back to America, which are already happening. And I would think the big thing is maybe cutting off aid to Ukraine, maybe pulling out of NATO. We will see. It may be a threat. He may say, okay, guys, you need to end up this war right now. Otherwise, we're pulling out of NATO. So it should be interesting. I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you think it will be? I hope it's something big. I hope it's not planning something big and then it's just something like, that was dumb. All right. Some more good stuff Trump is doing here, though. Let's take a look at this. Executive order alert. English is now the official language of the United States. America is so back. So this is really good. For the longest time, America's never had an official language. And shitlibs used to say, English isn't even the official language. And now we have an official language. So we don't have to have everything in Spanish or whatever. Learn the fucking language or go back to your homeland. Everything should be in English. When I call a phone, I don't want to press 1 for English, press 2 for Spanish. Hell with that. We're in America. It's just English, right? And that's the way it is. I've known some people that have been here their whole life and they still don't know English. And yeah, no, that's not the way it should be. So English is now the official language. Really, really good to see that. Okay, and some other domestic stuff that's going on. This has to do with RFK and health related, and this I agree with here. This is breaking. Do you support RFK Jr.'s mandating companies like Coca-Cola to remove high fructose corn syrup? Yes, I do. And the reason this all came about is back in the day, in the 70s and prior, Coke was made out of cane sugar. And then what happened? They moved to high fructose corn syrup from corn. And that was because of the farm lobby. And so we put tariffs on cane sugar because we wanted Pepsi and Coke to use corn instead, because the farm lobby was powerful and this would sell more corn to these companies. But the trouble is, and I do think this is true, it does seem like corn fructose, high fructose corn syrup seems to promote more obesity than cane sugar. And some people dispute that, but I've seen a famous study, and I did a video about this probably 10 years ago, where they showed, or even more, they had 2 rats, 2 different rats, and one they just fed cane sugar, and the other they did high fructose corn syrup. So they had, to test, see what happens. And the rat that just ate the cane sugar looked like a normal rat. The rat that just ate high fructose corn syrup was like bloated like that. And it kind of almost makes a little sense, because the obesity epidemic really didn't happen until after the 70s, when we started to get this high fructose corn sugar and everything. And it's almost in everything now. And that's what, I know correlation is not necessarily causation, but it could be. And I think this could be a part of the issue here. So I definitely support going back to more traditional sugar. Other people says that it's not enough, but whatever. All right, let's see here. If you have questions, this power chats or rants or super chats, appreciate those. Okay, a couple of other things I want to talk about that I haven't been too happy with Vivek and even Elon Musk, and I hope they pull back on this a little bit, is Grok says that if an American white man and an Indian man were both trying to purchase the same rural gas station, the Indian would have access to $200,000 in racial government loans that discriminate against white Americans. And this is why when you go to hotels or all these convenience stores, they're all Indian owned, not owned by white Americans. It's like, oh, white Americans, you're just lazy. No, these Indians, they've been getting preferential treatment by your government. So we whites pay government, we ship in these Indians, and we give them preferential treatment. What the hell's that? And we got to stop that. We got to stop that right off. And a lot of the Indians that got these loans and properties, we need to take them back. Say, get the hell out. You're going to have to reapply with other people because you got these fraudulently. So we got to make this change. And Indians, if they want to buy hotels or gas stations, fine. They shouldn't be given a special advantage. In fact, if any special advantage, it should be for native white people, Americans. It shouldn't be for Indians that are coming over. And this is part of the reason that Vivek's remarks caused such outrage. He's encouraging more H-1B immigration in an environment where he knows immigrants will receive specific legal and financial advantages while he talks about how, lazy white people are. This is bullshit, and we need to end this. And I hope Vivek and all them end these racial preferences that Indians have used. And they get in, then they bring over their whole family, and then your formerly nice areas are just swarmed by Indians. Nothing against Indians, but you see how India looks. And I don't want to turn America into India. All right. Some more good news by the Trump tariffs, and we're seeing some impact on this. Honda has just announced the new Civic model will be built in Indiana, not Mexico. And they said it's because of Trump's tariffs. This is how tariffs really work. So Trump told Honda, okay, here's the deal. You can make Hondas in Japan. That's fine, but we're going to put a tariff on you, so you're going to have to pay more money for it. So your car is going to be more expensive here, and you're going to be at a disadvantage to automakers that build the cars in America. And if you just build them in Mexico, you're going to have the same problem. So you're not, you think, oh, we'll build them in Mexico because they don't have environmental protections. They pay their workers less, so we'll just build our factory in Mexico. We said you can do that, but we're going to put a tariff on you. And then Honda says, well, there's no reason to put it in Mexico then, because we're not going to save any money because of the tariff. Okay, we'll make it in Indiana. So in Indiana then, they have to hire, hopefully, excluding H-1Bs, they have to hire normal Americans for the job. Those are normal Americans. They start working. This good, high-paying jobs. They pay taxes. They help their communities. They start to spend money shopping. This is how you improve the economy. And this is what Trump is doing with tariffs. And we're already seeing the results. All right, here's another sad story, and it's your guys' fault. And I know we're all upset about this, but here, let's just take a look at this here. All right, here we go. Let's take a look at this here.
You wish was talked about more within our community?
So talk to more in their communities. They mean the black community. We're not allowed to have a white community because that's racist, but they can have their community. Even though they're culturally appropriating our hair, that's a weave and everything else.
Understanding our roots, I think it's really important. I think we're not trapped here. With the political climate that's going on in the United States of America, we are not trapped here. There are places that we can go. There are countries that are receiving us back, citizenship back. And I think with open arms, and I think that it's time for the black community as a whole to start looking into those resources.
That'd be sad, and you guys are to blame for this. So, I mean, just imagine the nightmare. And imagine the nightmare scenario. And you guys are to blame for this, right? So just do this thought experiment. If all the blacks in your neighborhoods or your cities were gone, they went back to Africa. Yeah, you'd be screwed. You would be screwed. There'd be no spices. I don't think the country would run. So this is a real threat. And she's saying, but you white people, you deserve this. You deserve this punishment. So you'd be screwed. Just try to imagine that. A city without blacks, how horrific that would be. I know, nightmare scenario, but it's because of your policies. So I hope you MAGA people feel satisfied of this potential nightmare. It probably won't happen, but man, that would suck. Yeah, that would suck. So, yeah. So that's because of your policies there. So anyway, they're doing a threat there that they will just up and leave. And well, it sucks. It really does. But maybe we deserve that. And I won't stop them because we're probably wicked. And it kind of makes sense. Because if white supremacy and whiteness, you want to be away from it, yeah, go away from it. That probably makes sense. White people have been dependent on blacks for too long. Blacks, they should just go and leave white people alone. Just white people won't know what to do if they have their own communities. They just wouldn't know what to do. So, that's just punishment that white people need. So yeah, it'd be sad, but I'd be okay with that. All right, let's see what else we got here. We'll turn to immigration here. And it's amazing how the whole illegal immigrant thing was like literally solved within a month. Pete Hegseth, and he's been really good as a Department of Defense guy. You know how much better he is than the other guy? Who was the other guy? That black guy, Lloyd Austin. Remember him? He always looked kind of dim. And Lloyd Austin, my favorite Lloyd Austin story was he disappeared for a week and no one knew where he went and no one cared. And then, someone in like Department of Defense said, hey, you know where that big black guy went? We haven't seen him for a while. I go, I don't know. I haven't seen him either. Turned out he was in the hospital. No one knew he was gone. So we got a new guy in. And part of what the military's doing now is, I know this is very strange. Instead of our military fighting wars for Israel or for Ukraine, they're actually defending American citizens. I know that sounds like Nazism or something, but we're dead serious about 100% operation control of the southern border, and our troops are down there. And basically, illegal immigration has stopped, and we got a lot more deportations to do. So we're not done with that yet, but there's no more caravans flowing in. That stopped, remember? And we were told by the left, well, there's nothing you can do about it. It's just an act of nature. We can't stop it. Trump stopped it like that. So thank you, Trump, for that. I'm happy about that. Now, now we need to focus on getting the ones out of here. That's what we need for their own benefit, because, it's not fair for them to be around white supremacy. So we'll put them back in their homelands. All right, let's just see some more of this illegal immigrants, what it's been doing to our country. Breaking in Illinois. Illinois taxpayers have paid out a massive $1.6 billion for healthcare programs for illegal aliens since 2020. This is just crazy. I don't get free healthcare, but these illegals, so they're coming in here, they're criminals, they're breaking our laws, and they get free healthcare paid for by you guys. This is vastly above the spending projections estimated by Governor J.B. Pritzker's administration, but he already knew that will happen and lied to our faces about it.
He has spent billions of taxpayer dollars on welfare programs for the undocumented immigrants in this state. The largest of which is the health care program, providing free health care for anyone 42 or older.
So what we need to do is, if any illegal comes for health care, we need to call ICE and they need to be sent back. So when they're in the emergency room because they have the sniffles, and then once we see, oh, you're illegal, hang on here, I got to make a phone call. You just wait over there, and then ICE can show up and send them back to their homelands. To their homelands where they have nice socialized medicine anyway, so they'd be better off there. So, yeah, that is what is happening there for the illegal. So this is Illinois. All right, California continues to be California. Got a California update. California residents at Lowe's is showing electric lawnmowers they have. It is now illegal to sell gas-powered lawnmowers in California. And now this has tripled the price of electric lawnmowers. Thanks to Newsom, your choices in lawnmowers now. You got the 6,000 John Deere electric, or you got the other one for 7,000. And this is crazy. So, yeah, wow, look at how expensive these are. So, gas-powered lawnmowers are now illegal in California because of the climate change hoax. Pretty crazy. All right, some other stuff. This came out. Shocking. Could have figured this out. Take a look at this. A recent study published by Oxford Journal of Sexual Medicine. Okay, and these guys are shit libs, right? So they're not like conservatives, Oxford. Sampling 107,000 patients found that sex change surgery doubles depression rates among the gender dysphoric individuals rather than reducing them. And there's a high suicide rate against people that go through sex changes because it's unnatural and it's not really solving the problem. It makes it worse. Because the problem is you can't change your sex. It's more, there's a lot of reasons behind why people want this sort of thing, sort of a fetish. But a lot of times what happens, these guys, they want to be women, they get sexually off on it. Then they have surgery, they get their dick cut off and their balls cut off, and then they don't have any sexual drive anymore. And then their new so-called vagina is just a wound that they open that keeps trying to heal, and it keeps getting infected because it's unnatural. And straight men don't want to deal with that. And so you just put yourself into this really weird place. And obviously there's a lot of depression there. But now we got the science behind it, which should be obvious. Doing this sort of sexual mutilation does not help people. It just harms them. And I really feel sorry for the children that go through this because of their crazy mothers that want to virtue signal on Facebook. Oh, Johnny, he was born in the wrong body. It's just very, very sad. And then we'll go back to California again. All these crazy things in California. Gavin Newsom, maybe he'll run for president. Let's see what he's up to here. Now you can see why people are fleeing out of California. It's too bad it's a beautiful state climate-wise, but man, nuts.
California Democrats now want to ban self-defense. Radical left California lawmaker Rick Zieber just proposed a new bill that would ban fighting back during violent home invasions.
See, this is opposite than Arkansas. Like, if you break in my house in Arkansas, I'm free to shoot you dead. In fact, I'm encouraged to shoot you dead. So that's the way it is. That's how it should be.
First, they came for our constitutional right to bear arms. Then, they slashed police budgets and packed the courts with soft-on-crime judges. Now, they want to take away our right to defend ourselves and our families in our own homes. California's war against law-abiding citizens must end.
And what this is, obviously this is going to be racial based. So if there should be, like, you know, the Hollywood movies, it's always a white guy breaking into a home. If a white guy should break into a black home to try to terrorize a black family, what a fantasy. And the blacks should kill the white guy, they're not going to be penalized. But most of the people that do the home invasions are black or Hispanic. And they don't want white people or Asians to defend themselves against these people because the people in charge, they hate, they're having a war on you. It's really like an ethnic war they're doing on you. That is what they're doing. So pretty crazy. All right. And let's see here. We're almost done. It's been a good show. Thank you guys. And remember, if you guys are new, I've just joined. Tomorrow, usually we have our roundtable for my Substack subscribers. And if you haven't subscribed to Substack, do so. No reason not to. I do a lot of free content on there. But I also, my members, we have a roundtable, which is a lot of fun every Tuesday night. But tomorrow, Trump is addressing Congress. He's promising big announcements. And you know Trump. It's going to be great. It's going to be fun. So I'm going to stream tomorrow night. I'm still going to do the Ramsey Paul show at my regular time in the morning, so don't worry. I'll be back here tomorrow at 11. But in the evening, I'm going to stream, and I will stream on Rumble and X. I won't stream on YouTube because the last time I did a stream when Trump was discussing something, he had some press thing. YouTube took my video down because of, I don't know why. It's just, so I'm not even going to bother with YouTube. So that's tomorrow night. So we're not having the roundtable tomorrow night. We're doing the stream. But it'll be like a roundtable. But for everyone, we'll watch it, then we'll discuss it afterwards. So we'll have fun. Maybe I'll have call-in tomorrow night too on that, so that'd be good. All right. We had the Oscars last night. I never watched it because I don't really care much about this sort of stuff. No Other Land wins Best Documentary Feature Film at the Oscars. It was something about virtue signaling about the Palestinians in Gaza. I don't really care about this one way or the other. I just don't want them here. But that one, the Oscars, they're not really like the best movie anymore. It's just, if you like have a Holocaust movie, you're going to get nominated, or the Poor Black movie, you're going to get nominated, or some sort of weird sexual fetish movie, you're going to get nominated. That's all that is all in. So, and then we had congratulations to Elon Musk. He had another baby. He's like a baby machine. And some of his baby mamas are mad, like Ashley. Ashley St. Clair, she thought I don't know, maybe she thought Elon would actually love her or marry her. Yeah, that's not going to happen. But he said his 14th child was Siobhan Zillis. So she kind of has crazy eyes, though. She's not that bad looking, but she kind of has a crazy look, in my opinion. But I guess he's real rich, so he can deal with all that. I still don't. I don't really agree with this, so I think children need a father. It's not just about making more babies. It's actually having families. And I know he's really rich and he's going to provide for them, but I think children need a father. So I can't really approve of this. But has he done any with a black woman? I haven't seen him make any children with a black woman yet. So I think that he's being racist there. He's being racist. All right, let me just double check everything. And thank you guys so much for being here today. It's been a lot of fun. And tomorrow we'll have the Ramsey Paul show again. And I haven't done a dog video to end the show for a bit, so let's do one here. This is kind of cute. So this is in Georgia. I assume they mean, is this the state of Georgia or maybe the country of Georgia? There's a stray dog who makes it his job to protect the kindergarten class so they can cross the street safely. Well, we'll look at the race. If they're mostly white, we know it's the country Georgia. Yeah, this is the country of Georgia, because there wouldn't be that many white faces. They'd be all black in Georgia, I think. Oh, look at that dog. That's so cute. I hope someone takes him, man. What a nice dog. It's nice to, when I was in Hungary, that's one nice thing that was refreshing. I saw a class of like first graders on like a field trip, and they were all white Hungarian kids. It was so refreshing. You don't see that in the United States. Kind of depressing, but that was nice to see. It's nice to see. Guys, so it's been a fun show. Thank you. And so tomorrow at 11 a.m., the Ramsey Paul Show, we'll go over the news again. I thank you for your support. Be sure to like and subscribe, share this, because the algorithm's not friendly to me, so I do appreciate that. Then tomorrow night, we will cover Trump's address. And then Wednesday, Z-Man's coming back on. We're going to discuss communism unless some other major story breaks. And then, so it's a busy week. It's going to be a great week. Thank you guys all for being here, and talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.